Questions. Questions. Who's got questions? We've got questions. Who's got answers? Well, we've got something resembling answers. It's all here on our very first AMA on Written Note. Welcome to Written Off, your absolute favorite podcast, all about movies, hosted by a bunch of people who want to talk to you and offer you some opinions. My name's Bradley Freeman. Hello, mates. How you doing? Welcome to May 1st. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mark Tasker. Mark, how are you doing?
Bit confused. I have not been let in to what's going on. If you like listening to the sound of a man bewildered, you're in the right place.
What you been watching recently?
Right, okay, that bit's the same. That's good. I watched a film, Time Crimes. It's a Spanish...
Oh, yeah.
It's got a much better name in Spanish. Crímenes, I guess, if you'll pardon my R pronunciation.
This did the rounds on the internet quite a few years ago, people hailing it as the best time travel movie since Back to the Future.
I'm not in a position to say whether that's true or not. It's certainly enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, obviously made on not obviously, for those who haven't seen it, made on a pretty small budget, Spanish language. It's a personal time travel story. You know, somebody said, oh, is it like Looper? And I said, well, no, because it doesn't feel the need to involve shadowy groups or, hitmen or anything like that. It is just a personal story of a confused man becoming very quickly murderous. At the very beginning of the film, he spies a confused looking topless woman in the woods and then just goes and follows her. And I thought, is that what I would have done?
He's just wandering through the woods and he sees an equally confused woman who happens to be topless.
Him and his wife are moving into a new home. And again, it's very, very lightly sketched. I think they're moving into a new home. And his missus goes off to get some supplies and he's got his binoculars out. Bird watching? ?
Do you know anybody who does that? Like, I see that in movies all the time. Like,
bird watching.
I'm going to look through these fucking binoculars. Like, yeah. Who the fuck just like, you know what? I'm going to make an insane cash purchase. Mark and I were talking about fiscal responsibility before the podcast started. I'm going to go slap down, let's say, $200 on a pair of binoculars, and I'm going to go watch some fucking chickens.
As somebody who's... I'm quite a fan of casual bird observing.
With your eyes, yes.
I inherited some binoculars.
Oh, okay.
And I will... Anyway, that's another story. I think it's sort of the visual equivalent of if someone coughs in a film, you know that they're in serious trouble. If you see binoculars, you know it's going to be an integral part of the plot line, and so it proves. Like a lot of these films, if you sit down and really think about it, do his actions really make a lot of sense? He goes from mild-mannered, fun-loving, sort of slubby guy to murderous dark man impersonator within a heartbeat. And he cottons on to what's going on so quickly. I would still be asking many, many more questions than he does. Yeah, but really enjoyable. Quite dark, but not depressing. 90 minutes, a little bit less of your time. Well worth spending, I would say.
So, mates, I watched Gremlins 2 2 days ago. Honestly, I hadn't seen Gremlins 2 in probably 20 years.
Oh, wow.
The first one, I've seen a lot more. I own the 4K, so I've seen it very recently. But Gremlins 2, yeah, I knew it well, but I hadn't actually seen it. So I sat down and watched it with my babies, and bold.
Yeah.
Love it. Like, currently, nowadays, sequels, they have a formula. You have an expectation of what they'll do. But Gremlins 2, and I know everyone talks about the vegetable gremlin, the spider gremlin, all that shit, which is valid. But this is quite telling. What I focused on is Billy and Kate, right? played by Phoebe Cates and
Yeah, the
fuck,
other guy.
what's his no, oh, how could I fucking forget his
Well,
name?
everyone's forgotten his name.
Zach Galligan. Billy and Kate, played by Zach Galligan and Phoebe Cates. You know, you watch the first one, and oh, okay, so they're two teenagers. They're falling in love. It's a meet cute. She works questionably at a pub at
Yeah,
nights to help out, but also at the bank. And he works at the bank, but he's actually a cartoonist. Now, Mark,
yeah, he is. Yeah.
I'm going to give you money, and you're going to make Gremlins too. The stipulation
Hang on a minute.
is
Doesn't he? Does she?
no, hang on. The stipulation is you're going to make Gremlins 2, and it's got to be about Billy and Kate. Though they have contracts with the studio, so you have to bring them on the sequel. I know no one gives a fuck about those characters. You want to see the Gremlins and you want to see Gizmo, but you have to bring Billy and Kate into your sequel. Now, based on what you saw in the first movie,
Yeah, fair.
where, where are these characters going to go with their lives?
Well,
Where are you going to put them? What career choices are you going to give them?
well, they're from the land of opportunity, Brad. You're thinking small because you're a rural Commonwealth bumpkin. You don't realize in America, every opportunity is open to you. So yeah, he goes from sketching a few bits and pieces to suddenly he's working at obviously supposed to be sort of a Trump Tower-esque. Yeah,
He's an architect, maybe?
yeah, he's an aspirational architect. He's drawing things he wishes could come into being, and she's a
Tour guide.
so I guess we're supposed to think he's got the job and she's gone with him, and that's the job he could get her, or she could finagle her way to getting, I guess. Yeah, it's perfect sense to me.
The gremlin effects are amazing. The comedy is great. Wonderful idea. Putting it in New York, putting it in a building. Love it. Just top marks all around. But specifically, yeah, I'm going to take these two teenage lovebirds. Are they teenagers? I think they're just out of high school.
Yeah, I think early 20. I think it'll be early 20s. Have got to be.
I'm going to take them out of this small American town, and I'm going to make him a suit wearing architect, and I'm going to make her a tour guide with a building on her head. And then also, occupation notwithstanding, he is a real dick to her throughout that movie.
Yeah.
He shuts her down constantly. She is still heavily traumatized by
Yeah.
the gremlining that happened in her small town, and possibly, no, definitely led to the murder of quite a few town inhabitants. So when she hears the G word, of course she starts to hyperventilate, and he just shuts her down constantly.
Yeah, it does.
He throws Gizmo at her and then turns about and walks away without even a "I love you" or "thank you."
Yeah, yeah. I'm off, love. Is that? And then he goes on that date to, well, the date, but he goes on that business meeting to the Canadian restaurant.
Yeah, and then he gets the lipstick just above his lip, goes home. He's not aware of it, which between this movie and Big Trouble in Little China, as a kid, I grew up believing that lipstick was to be feared.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
as soon as a woman plants her lips on you, she has marked you for life. Like fucking branding a side of beef.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, character suicide for Kate. She clearly sees the lipstick mark on his face and does not take him to task about it.
No.
She just, not even passive aggressive, needles him or suggests to him something's wrong. She shuts down. She goes inward and doesn't mention it at all. And then she just says it like, if we survive this, you're in big trouble. Is that enough, Kate? Is that enough?
This is a hot take I haven't thought about at all. But, having been in a relationship as a young person and then, well, in my case, gone to uni and then like trying to negotiate, how are we changing? How are we staying the same? I think some of it rings true. Some of the emotional beats ring a little bit true because they're spiraling out of control in a big city, and I think in a way it does kind of work. And I'm surprised they put as much effort into those two characters as they did. It's quite surprising to me that they even bothered. I don't know. I think those two are quite a sweet and relatively relatable couple. As somebody from a small town who, again, tried with the relationship in a different setting, and it is hard to make it work, especially when you're that age. Yeah, I agree, but I've never not enjoyed it when I've watched it. Never. And I enjoy different bits each time. I think it's a miracle of a film, and I really hope they don't do a third one. I see fake posters for a third Gremlins almost all the time, and I don't know if it's actually happening or not.
Yeah, it's confirmed. They've got, I think it's Chris Columbus writing it, which is great because he wrote the first one. And I think, is he do like they've got a top-notch director for it too. So
But the setting, but I think the setting is incredibly important. I don't know. I saw a poster and it's sort of suggesting it was going to be a snowy origin-y, because I know there's the cartoon, isn't there, which I forgot what it's called, and that's
Secrets of the Mogwai.
trying to build the lore, isn't it? I don't want the lore. I want weird Chinese man in his basement selling this random thing to stupid Westerner. That's what I want. That's enough.
Fair enough, too. It's what we all want. It's why you are listening to this podcast right now, mates. You out there will understand that if this podcast offers anything interesting or insightful, it's largely due to my co-host, Mark. He's a bit of a smarty-pants. He has his eye on the ball, and he makes you go, Simply put, the guy gives good head. With that in mind, we wanted to offer listeners something different, a palate cleanser after MCA. Now, Mark, you know what MCA is. Of course. Nope, don't even need to talk. Of course you know what it is. MCA, Michael Crichton April.
Right, okay, yeah. That thing we've been planning for weeks.
Yeah, we've gotten through the Congo. We've sped past the sphere. So imagine it. You've finished your meal at a mid-budget restaurant.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah. As you leave, you steal a mint from the cashier and you pop it in your mouth. Yeah, it's bland and it's barely refreshing, And that, mates, is the high bar we are setting for ourselves with the first of our AMAs. Ask Mark anything.
Right, okay.
In this episode, I'll be asking Mark 5 film-centered questions in a desperate attempt to give you mates out there something enjoyable to listen to as you run across some sand dunes, drive that forklift around, cook that pasta, whatever it is that you do. And don't you worry, our regular episodes will be back in 2 weeks' time, okay? I promise. Mark, can you guess what the next episode is going to be after this one debuts? I'll give you a hint. It stars Ben Stiller.
Oh, Night at the Museum?
Yep, that's it. Oh, look at the enthusiasm in his voice. Oh, Night at the Museum. Yes, that is the episode to look forward to in 2 weeks' time. But right now, strap in. Grab yourself, I don't know, if you're at work, some water or something. I don't know. Anyway, strap in because here we go. Our first ever AMA. Mark, you ready?
No, of course not.
Good.
I was... Right, go on.
Question number 1. Where should the line be drawn between catering to the fans, be they fucking Star Trek fans, Star Wars fans, Lord of the Rings fans, whatever, versus what the creator or the studio produces? Pick a franchise. It doesn't matter. We've seen fan bases go toxic. We've seen, especially now, politically, you've got these conservatives saying, oh, woke this, or, oh, that's not my franchise, whatever the fuck. Mark, where do you think the line should be drawn between giving the fans what they want versus what the actual creator or, sorry, the fucking studio who's paying for it wants?
I think the first thing to say is we are probably overestimating, or the marketing department or the research department is overestimating their own ability to know what people want. They're making so many mistakes based on algorithms, based on reactions that they think they're getting. I used to teach somebody who did advertise quite a while ago now. She do advertising. So, you're looking at a website and they could basically guess where you were looking and how long you were looking in that place, and that was where your interest lay. And obviously algorithms have become a huge part of our lives, so there's a bit of a schism between what the young algorithm driven execs are probably pushing people towards and what the old school, go back to the well, we've had 20 years off from Harry Potter, let's go back and make that again. I think the world is so scattergun now. There's really no such thing as a surefire hit. I mean, even the last Avatar, it did well, but it certainly didn't do as well as the previous one. Not that I'm accusing Cameron of sucking up to the fans, because I don't think he really does. But I think we may, the one I keep thinking of at the moment, I was talking about it yesterday, is this The Hunt for Gollum film, which is going to be that as far as I understand it, that interlude between Gandalf going, hang on, what's this in the fire? And it's the bloody ring. The whole film is going to be fit. It's going to fit in that space and time. And I just cannot conceive of who has decided to greenlit. It's got to be 250 million at least for production of a film like that. I find that baffling, because I know they have to make money, but everyone is fairly happy with those first 3 films, less happy with the next 3. I don't believe there's the clamour that they think. There may be clamour for Lego sets of Gandalf's wagon, I don't know, but another film on top of what we've already got. They had 3 attempts, which have all failed, and yet they're still going back to the well. I'm not answering your question, but if you look at Star Wars, the way that universe has exhausted itself, they'll sometimes get a little nugget that'll hit. But on the whole, we should, in my opinion, we should be looking at breaking away things that refer to other things, your sinners, your weapons, your long legs, things that refer to other things. And for anyone that has an interest in cinema, it may feel a little derivative at times, but has vision, has passion, or even maybe Nope, something that obviously is inspired, but comes from a place of vague originality. It comes without the financial cost and the financial baggage, and without the need to be tethered to the expectation of a fan, quote unquote. And you've got so much more freedom. So you're not beholden to that tug of war between creators, fans, and executives. So I know it's not going to happen. And we've been talking about, obviously, Gremlins. You can either wait a very long time, but then there's a big risk because you might not bring the people that liked it at the time with you anyway. Just do inspired by it. As I'm talking to you, I'm looking down there and I can see the Watchmen graphic novel. What Watchmen did as a series was fascinating, like really fascinating. I saw some guy trying to take it down on YouTube yesterday, and I thought, nah, you're wrong. So I personally feel you've got to reimagine away from the original, let's say, core characters or story. You've got to spin quite a long way away from it. How much you scatter in those little nuggets of nostalgia is up to you. But I think, generally speaking, as we sit in 2026, the people that go to the cinema are not interested in this bollocks anymore. I think maybe people our age are still relatively interested, but the people who are actually going to spend their money at the cinema, they're not interested. They're just not. Final Destination, Scary Movie, the new one's coming out. It'll probably make a few quid or a few dollars, but I think, the real successes we've seen in the past few years have been original things with emotional connections to the things that have worked in the past. So for me, that would be the direction of travel that I would be looking at if I were working in a studio, just like Zach Galligan is in Gremlins 2.
So to try and get you to actually answer the question...
to try and answer the question, how dare you?
Would you believe it falls more on the studio or more on the fans to kind of take ownership or to...
Well, I mean, if you look at something like that basically grew out of a fanfic based on Twilight.
50 Shades of Grey, yep. Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the books, haven't seen the films, but I quite like the idea. I like the idea. I think it's quite cute, and it's like wholly fan inspired, and somehow, some way, ended up blowing up into this massive thing. And so that was completely fan driven. If you're asking me, okay, let's go back to Gremlins 3. how much should Gremlins 3 tap into the fandom of the first two films? Is it really conceivable that there are enough people who liked the originals that are going to go to the cinema to make enough money back off that budget purely based on what the fans would like to see? I can't imagine it. You know, you look at the new Ghostbusters. I did finally see Afterlife, by the way. I don't know if I ever mentioned it.
Afterlife or Frozen Empire?
Sorry, Frozen Empire. They tried. You could see them. They're really pulling, right? Obviously, we're going to still have the firehouse and the Ecto one, and we've still got the containment unit. But how far can we pull it in this direction? Not that far. And this is the dilemma that, off the top of my head, because this has to be off the top of my head, because he hasn't told me what he's going to ask me, not many people are getting right in terms of financially or even critically. And so I wonder what the point is.
Has there been any franchise that has actually successfully managed to continuously cultivate, support, nurture a fan base? Because it seems as though, so one generation, let's say Yogurt, the movie. One generation loves Yogurt, the movie. They fucking go crazy for it. And then 5 years later, they have Yogurt 2, the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And it does okay business. They made some changes. Maybe it's less yogurt and it's more like Greek style yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit. And so let's say it stops there. 10 years later, new generation, they make a new yogurt movie.
Yeah.
I know I'm being facetious, but basically that is the trend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has there been a franchise that has successfully, oh, this generation loved it, and now this generation loves it too, and everyone is happy, and no one is saying like, it's not how it fucking used to be.
Well, the last thing you just said excludes almost everything, doesn't it? So this is the problem. I mean, if you look at not franchises, but Force Awakens and Jurassic World are the two where I would say we may have issues with them, but financially and culturally, they had a massive impact.
Huge. Yeah.
What did they do in those films? If you actually look at it, well, they just photocopied the old one, more bells and whistles. And we've seen a litany of other films try and do that, and it hasn't worked. If you look at something like, what the Predator franchise has tried to do, I still haven't seen the most recent one. It is on the list. They did something quite well, but again, it depends upon how much money they're going to have to put out to make whatever they're going to make. Look at the Blade Runner 2049. That was a really interesting film made on the terms of the director, more so probably than the terms of the studio, which was nice to see. But I don't think many people were popping champagne at the results in terms of finance. Critical darlings, fan darlings, and commercial darlings, first of all, they're rare anyway. Maybe we're asking too much. The fact that people still lionize, well, Terminator 2, how the hell did he do that? Terminator 2 is probably the one I would say. I mean, Cameron's got form, both Alien and Terminator. The fact that he made sequels,
yep,
it's almost miraculous. And the fact that we are now in 2026, 30, 40 years on, and we're struggling to think of anything that's managed to copy that. And so I wonder, what's the first sign of madness? Doing the same thing over and over again and not recognizing it's a mistake. I just wonder, how often is it possible? And certainly at the budgets that they're having to put forward to do the real fandom-y things, that the Star Wars, the Lord of the Rings, it's just such a massive investment. And is the result ever going to be what we think it is? I don't think so. To me, it's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's just not. It just doesn't happen, really.
On to our next question. It's a little bit old. It was about 3 weeks ago, maybe, or so. Mark, you remember the AI Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt fight on top of a roof? Did you see it?
I didn't see it, sadly.
Mates, you probably know what I'm talking about. There was an AI created video where AI Tom Cruise and AI Brad Pitt are doing a bunch of punching and knocking each other down, and it's on top of a building. There's some rubble, It looks like a typical Hollywood third act fight sequence. The scary thing is that it's pretty accurate. Like they speak and it sounds exactly like them. It looks exactly like them. It's shot exactly like any other cookie cutter Hollywood action movie, you know? My question to you, Mark, does your average moviegoer
Mm.
give a shit about AI? And I'm not talking about phones. I'm not talking about streaming. I mean, your average moviegoer, someone who goes to the cinema, are they going to care
Mm.
if a movie has been augmented heavily by AI or created entirely by AI?
Well, this goes back to what I was just saying about budgets and stuff. If they could do a hunt for Gollum, if you like, with AI, and you could have a very realistic looking Gandalf and a Aragorn back as he used to look, and the plot line is acceptable and relatively logical, I really don't think that many people would care. I don't, it's like a lot of things. People don't think about what goes into the sausage, you know, as though, or whatever the expression is, in the short term. However, I think the only thing I would say is encouraging. I know that Google have massively downscaled their investment in Gemini because people were like, don't need that. We've got Wikipedia. We don't need that. So in my positive moments, and I work with a lot of young people, and they are much more aware of AI slop or AI in general than the older people are. So I think they do recognize it. And at this current time, I don't think they like it. So I've given you contradictory answers there. I It's difficult to predict because here we sit as people in our 40s, and obviously we're railing against it. I do think there is already a bit of a backlash. It will, but then again, it depends how the technology develops. If we stop seeing this stupid, risky investment in this technology, which again a lot of people simply don't want, then this may well be a passage of time we can look back on and say, God, do you remember that stupid shit we used to have to watch? That would be my hope, and I'm slightly optimistic that might happen because I'd rather not see my fantasy fanfic film if it's done in that weird uncanny valley AI way. But do I think that the average person that just wants to go to watch a film or just wants to put something on Netflix cares? I changed my mind a lot about it. I kind of think they do care, but I also think it depends on what the target is. I think it's a bit like 3D. Do you remember when every single film had to be in 3D? When was the last time you saw a film with 3D glasses on?
Avatar 2.
The last Avatar, did it have 3D?
It did, but part of what sold Avatar was the 3D.
Yeah, 100%.
Cameron's fixed it. Cameron's made it work. That followed on like, oh, Avatar's back, everyone. Let's put on those glasses again. By the time the third one came out, I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all right.
So I think, is it a fad? I think these little silly videos are definitely a fad. When we start seeing animation movies that are all I guess I can give you a better answer. I would worry probably most about animation. I really would worry about animation. Let's say the audience is generally children. How discerning are they? They're not really. The plot is going to be fine for a child, probably, especially for young children. Yes, it's not going to live on in the memory, but it's fine for distraction purposes, I would imagine. And I certainly think animators, as we sit here right now, will be and are shitting themselves because it's a little bit too easy to produce something that's. I mean, it's even the same when we went from hand drawn to computer. I mean, you look at some of the shit. Like, I don't know if your kids used to watch Noddy or something like that. If you look at the hand drawn Noddy and then you look at whatever it's supposed to be now, coloring is awful. It's garish. The plot line is still written by a person, you can tell, but it looks grotesque. I'm not just picking on Noddy, Postman Pat or whatever. They've done it for all of them. But that hasn't stopped things like Paw Patrol being a massive success. For that genre, for that area of the industry, I would certainly think AI will have a huge part to play at the moment. But look at how Sinners look at the response to Sinners. Yes, that one swallow doesn't make a summer, maybe. But I think that has had real resonance and real cut through, and people recognize that it's because of real people making it. I watched a lovely little video about the focus puller and how much effort he had. I think talking about it is really important and really useful. Like, even down the pub, hey, did you know there's actually a focus puller walking around pulling that bloody focus when you're looking at that hip hop dancer? Talk about it, get people to realize. As a part of a wider backlash, I think the more discerning person will be like, nah. We talked about late night with the devil, wasn't it? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
And they used a little smidgen of AI. I think that will happen. And I think, you've just done a film on a budget. And I think there will be people that will be like, yeah, but I really do need something to beef this bit up. Can I cheat? Yeah, I think that'll happen. And will we be able to notice it if it's done in a small way? Probably not. But the whole thing being AI produced, AI slop is a thing. People know when something's too good to be true, I think.
As we speak, there is a horror novel that was being published through Hatchet, which is one of the big publishers across the world. They have canceled the release of a book called Shy Girl after suspected AI use. And this is the first time one of the big 5 publishers has put out publicly they are canceling a book release. That gives me hope, because that's how it should be. Because if a writer is using AI, they're not fucking a writer. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a course at the moment with work, and all of the stuff I submit is checked for AI usage. And in academia and, even with kids, it's all being checked. So I do feel that there's weight behind people rejecting it. Yes, people will cheat. They'll always cheat. But I think at this current iteration of whatever AI is supposed to be, people recognize that it's what it is and can see it. Maybe not in a TikTok video, but thankfully a movie is not a TikTok video. So I'm not saying it won't be possible to do it. Not naive enough to think that it may be happening currently and something may get released and they'll do a big gotcha moment where they'll say, haha, this whole thing. It may well happen. But also there's a lot of people trying to protect intellectual property. There's money involved in protecting actual writers and actual performers. So a lot of actors, who was it that I saw? No, it's a darts player actually who's trademarked their own image to make sure that nobody can use it for AI. That kind of thing is going to be more and more prevalent. The legal element is going to be more and more prevalent. So if you'd have asked me that question a year ago, I'd probably been less optimistic than I am now. I'm fairly optimistic that it's not going to be, from an arts point of view, it's not going to be quite as apocalyptic as it probably seemed 9 months, a year ago.
See, mates, what a smarty-pants. He's all optimistic and everything. Speaking of questions, I actually had someone ask me, Brad, are you going to keep doing ads for Momo and Matsu, the director's cut, your book that's available on Amazon right now, an ebook, paperback, or hardcover? Are you just going to keep doing ads for that forever? And the answer is no, because, mates, I have a new book coming out soon. And trust me, I'll be letting you know all about that when the time is ready. But until then, yes, just another heads up, if you're looking for a book that makes you feel all the feels, hopefully, and you like a bit of Japanese culture, kinda sorta partial to horror-ish, supernatural-ish stuff, well, you could do worse than Momo and Matsu, the director's cut, available on Amazon right now. All right, back to the show. Let's see if we can't run his optimism into the ground with question number 3. Mark, whose fault are expectations? Is it the trailer's fault? Is it interviews with the staff, the publicity package? Is it the audience? Because you know what I'm talking about. There is a movie, and mates, it could be anything. It could be a drama film, could be like, for example, Mark is catching up on all these movies that he's been wanting to see for a long time. It doesn't matter what the movie is. You have expectations. So, for example, on this very podcast, you're going to hear a discussion between Mark and I, maybe next month, maybe month later, about The Conversation, which is one of Mark's favorite movies. And I was really hyped to see it because I love Gene Hackman. And my expectations of what that movie was going to be and what it was were very different. Very, very, very different. So, Mark, whose fault are expectations?
You've got to break that down a little bit, probably. Like, for example, One Battle After Another, when I went to see that, I was told, it was the reinvention of this and it was this. And I really enjoyed it on its face. But yeah, in my head, I was subconsciously measuring up to what I expected it to be, and it wasn't that. That has always been the case and will always be the case. I do still read critics. I try to not read them before I go and see a film, but that's been my standard practice for a long time. And occasionally I've been really hyped. So, for example, I was thinking of going to see The Bride, the Maggie Gyllenhaal film, but didn't. And I'll be honest, I was on the fence and didn't go because I did see a lot of people like, this is basically the Munsters. Don't bother. The same for Joker 2. Still haven't seen it. And I was going to watch it. And I did get put off by critics, but that is a 40-year-old man's way of balancing expectations with reality and hype. Which film was it that came out last year where there was a very misleading trailer and people were upset? We talked about it. People were upset because they'd seen the trailer and the marketing led them down one path and the reality was something very different. And they come out feeling cheated, and because the internet exists, they will then be overly harsh on the final product. And I'm sure there are a lot of filmmakers tearing their hair out because you get that first weekend boom, but it's followed by a fat
60-70% drop off.
Is that fair? Don't know. And I remember when I found out that trailers were often nothing to do with the director and I was mind blown by that. Really? So someone can just look at the footage and be like, right, that bit's quite good, that bit's good. I remember finding that out for the first time, which was obviously a long time ago. And there was all those fake trailers turning Home Alone into a horror film or, whatever. I mean, that meme is like 15 years old now, but I still refer to it. There's always been that problem. I've thought a lot about when I was a kid and you'd go to cinema and you'd see a standee. Is that what they're called? The cardboard cutouts. You'd be like,
standee,
hell, there's going to be a Lethal Weapon 3 or, Congo. And that was it until the film came out. You might be able to see a trailer. I remember seeing the Godzilla trailer a year before it came out thinking, wow. So we are of a long dead generation of people that would just get a little tiny bit and go in. I mean, we're talking about trailers. I mean, God, how do you market a film now? This still kind of in the same way. But there is a sense, I think, that marketing is tricking people to go and see a film that wasn't made based on, again, algorithms, and they'll release a teaser and people are like, nah, fuck that, no shit. Right, release a teaser that's completely different. Film remains the same, but so whose fault is it? No, I blame the people marketing the film, essentially, as I have always done.
Tonight I went to see Ready or Not
Did
2,
you?
Here I Come. Yep.
God, I'm impressed with how you use your time.
Yesterday I saw Project Hail Mary. So,
oh yeah.
Lovely film. Fantastic.
It's a good book.
That's a great book. And then the movie is like equally as wholesome and emotionally warm as the book. So Ready or Not, for those who haven't seen it, is a very simple, relatively low budget horror comedy all about a woman who has just gotten married to her husband and shit goes sideways at a family get together.
Mm-hmm.
The sequel, I was delighted because the trailer, I saw the trailer, and the trailer really emphasized the gore and the comedy. So I was worried heading into it that the trailer had spoiled all the best bits, as they say. And luckily, it didn't turn out to be the case. The film was fun time at the cinema. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I was sitting there thinking, it's not as though I was a diehard fan of that first movie. So did I have expectations going into this? Yeah. were they as seismic as like what Mark was saying with if I was a Lord of the Rings fan and there was a new Lord of the Rings movie coming out, yeah, those expectations would be huge. And it's a tough question to ask, like whose fault are expectations? Because of course the studio wants you to be excited, wants you to put an Instagram post about it, and you want to be rewarded by watching the movie and being like, damn, that was great. But yeah, it's diminishing returns on that, I think.
I think this is where festivals, film festivals, or like early screenings still have a lot. That's what I prefer, is when you hear about something and then you've got the word of mouth that can build and the anticipation. And that's the gold standard, I suppose, especially for, let's say, mid to low budget stuff. If you find out, what is it, Mandalorian and Grogu is coming out, oof.
I have zero interest in seeing that.
I don't think anyone's got interest. It's actually quite awful. Not that I feel sorry for Disney, but you do have to kind of think nobody wants that film to, like, almost like no one wants it to come out. It's kind of painful actually. But I think if you're talking about, films that do the round at festivals, like the ones I mentioned earlier, both of those were mentioned in film festivals, and I've been thinking about them and I've kept them on like a little list on my phone. And yeah, that's the ideal. But if we're talking about these huge budgets, then they still market relatively traditionally, don't they? Really? 9 months before, 6 months before. It's interesting with the latest Avengers, whatever it's called. They've really, really, really kept it under wraps. And that's how they're marketing. I'm not that suspicious about it. I think that's probably quite clever, is that they've realized they've flooded the market, and now they're trying to rein it in by unflooding it, or I don't know, draining it. And I think that's quite clever. And I do think that will pay off. But they've had to lose an awful lot of money on a lot of projects. What are we now? May the 1st. So not that long before it comes out. So that's what I prefer. Give us a little bit, give us a taster. Like for a lower budget, this is the director, this is the actor, or the writer, whatever it may be, the AI generator. Give us that, and then let us fill the rest in, because the human imagination is always the most powerful marketing tool, isn't it?
Question number 4. We're switching tracks yet again. Hopefully the mates will write in about this one, because I see you out there, mates. There's a hell of a lot of you in America listening to this podcast, and I'm so grateful. Hello, Americans, British, New Zealanders, Japanese, love it. So there's a decent amount of countries who listen to this podcast. My question here, and I'm hoping to get some feedback from the mates, as always, got a question, got a comment, jump on Instagram at WrittenOffPod, type a comment, throw us a DM, whatever you like. Mark, the question is, going to the movies, what is quintessential movie watching snacks? What do you have to have? Top 3 or top 5 things. I don't know if you'd have 5 things with you at the cinema, but you know what I mean. What do you have to fucking have when you're going to the cinema?
My other half always has salty popcorn in the largest container possible, and then under the pretense that I'll eat some, and I probably have, if a handful, I'd be surprised. So for her, it is 100% salty popcorn. And for me, it has always been a fizzy drink. A soda has always been. I never buy soda from the supermarket. I never buy it. And when I lived in Japan, occasionally from a vending machine, but very, very rarely. But when I'm at a cinema, yeah, I have a real hankering for minstrels, which are a particular kind of chocolate snack that for me has always been a bit of a cinema thing. I tried nachos the last time before last. Didn't work for me as a cinema snack.
How does that work? Because I've seen in Japan they have hot snacks that you can have, and I think in New Zealand too. But how the fuck do you sit there eating nachos with your greasy nachos fingers?
Well, it was a one and done, Brad. Because for that reason, you can't see it. You're pouring all over it. You've got it all over your hands. You need 30 to 40 tissues. It just becomes a faff. And I think anything that's distracting you from what you're looking at is a no. And even the aforementioned fizzy drinks, like judging, especially as you get older, how much to drink and when is really important.
What an old man response.
But it's true.
How much can I drink? Oh, I'm going to have 2 pee breaks. I'll have to have.
I think back to the aforementioned Force Awakens. I went to see it with a few friends, and I was younger then, obviously, and so were the people I were with, but still, everyone was like, I'm not going to even take a sip of something until halfway through because I do not want to risk walking out at the wrong time. As I was, but even as a kid, I would drink the whole thing in the trailers and then, have to miss the bit where Splinter tells the turtles,
Fuck off.
They have to go and whatever they have to do.
So Splinter gives them some real hard truth. Sons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to reboot this no matter how much we try. Although, to be fair, they did reboot that, didn't they?
Or mates, as you well know, as Mark's dad calls them, Teenage Mutant Whinging Turtles.
Yeah. Where he still does. I was talking about that with him the other day.
He just went off on a tirade. Oh, those fucking whinging turtles and their goddamn problems.
Yeah.
They're turtles. What the fuck do they care about? Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, I don't know what their aspiration in life is, really, the turtles. I don't know. I guess they're teenagers. They don't know, do they?
Beat up the bad guys, eat pizza, watch TV, do some sick flips.
You know what's scary? What's scary, though, is those people will now be nostalgic for those remakes. That's how old, like even the remakes are, how old are they? 15 years ago? So it's like people are now nostalgic for the Transformers films and stuff. So anyway, that's another point entirely.
So it's got to be popcorn. It's got to be soda. Minstrels for you.
Yeah, keep it minimal. There's obviously no hot dogs or no, like, those lattice fries you can get, things like that. But no, it's pretty bare bones. I'm quite boring, really. And yourself?
I do love a cinema that offers a great range. Like Mark and I, we've talked about the cinema going experience in Japan. It's great because you've got hot dogs, you've got churros, you've got a whole range of things. But yeah, for me, buttery popcorn, caramel popcorn, can't get enough of that shit. Gotta have a soda. Yeah, absolutely. Quite partial to an ice cream.
Ice cream? Have you thought about ice cream?
I don't know about you guys in Britain. Probably it is the same for those in Aussie, but in New Zealand, it's nostalgic and it is dying off a bit. But Kiwi cinemas used to always have what's called a choc top, which is basically
right.
Okay, what do you think of choc top?
No, I don't want to know.
Mark just snickered as though I said something sexual. Oh, I love a choc top.
Well,
no, a choc top is just a ball of vanilla ice cream, a cone, and it's just been coated in chocolate. That's it. A chocolate dipped vanilla ice cream.
Right.
It's nostalgic for Kiwis. Like you can get boysenberry, vanilla, and maybe mint. But yeah, a choc top. So that used to be a thing. What about you, mates?
I want to ask you about your boys. What do they hanker for when they go?
My boys inhale anything. I just bring a bag of candy.
Right.
Just ration it out throughout the movie. Because once my youngest son, he'd eaten his snacks by about the 45-minute mark and just shit went down from there. Yeah. But they see daddy eating popcorn. So, of course, they associate, movies, popcorn. So they want to have popcorn. Yeah. I was reading MCU, The Rise and Rise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
God, how you spend your time.
Tell you what, it was a very insightful book.
Sorry, I'm not laughing. I'm sure it was.
It was a fascinating book up until the Avengers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Everything after that, I was like, yep, nah. But before that, the doubt and struggle and backroom deals and cutthroat plans they had to do to get shit on screen was very intriguing. There was some scene in an MCU movie where someone was going to the movies and eating popcorn, and they had to reshoot that because I believe, is it China? I'm not too sure. One country, they're not so big on the popcorn. They prefer something else.
Okay.
So, mates, I wonder out there, if you're going to go to the cinema, what do you got to have? So Mark and I, we've thrown down the gauntlet. It's fucking popcorn, it's a drink, and maybe one other thing. But for you, what's it going to be? Speaking of
Yeah.
what's it going to be, Mark,
Hi.
our fifth and final question. Now, again, keeping things sweet, keeping things wholesome, keeping things Mark, what is the biggest difference between now and when you first got interested in film?
Difference in me?
Basically, what is the difference between your love of cinema or how you think of cinema or how you approach cinema or how you talk about cinema to some random fucking Kiwi on a podcast? What's the difference between now and back when you first got into it?
There's probably three distinct periods of film loving in my life, because the first one, obviously, when you're
Slightly
young.
happy, pissed off, sad.
No, I think it's more to do with what I had time for. Obviously, again, we've mentioned the turtles and that pure excitement of going to a dark room. And again, something that young people now wouldn't have really is going into stuff almost sight unseen, and almost like.
What a soundbite, folks. Oh, the excitement as a child of going to a dark room with a bunch of strangers.
It was a peculiar, well, it still is quite a peculiar thing to do if you think about it.
It is such a unique communal experience, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I'm struck with the fact that because you and I, we were in Japan for a very long time, we got used to how it was done over there. I'm surprised by the fact that now in fucking 2026, people don't goddamn know better than A, turn your fucking phone off, and
No,
B,
don't.
shut the fuck up. If it's a funny sequence, yeah, laugh your ass off. If it's scary, scream. But you don't need to actually be having a motherfucking conversation during scene after scene of a movie. Just fuck the fuck off.
Yeah, the phone usage was quite shocking the first time I watched a film. When I came back, it was disappointing. I mean, I haven't been to anything. I don't tend to go at sort of the rowdier times, so I don't see a lot of gangs of young people. I'm not really interested in the films they're interested in on the whole. Or I know.
Them gangs.
Well, I mean, we were the same, but we weren't. We were more trained maybe to just sit and, as you say, shut up. So I think that first
Yeah,
era
now
was.
it's all about the chicken jockey, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a good point. Well, and I don't even mind things like that as long as it's communal and everyone's in, or the majority of people are in on it. Then it's whatever. It's just when you've got people, yeah, loudly pissing and moaning if they don't understand something or they don't like something. Like, all right, you pay your money, you take your choice, but the whole point is it's communal and you shouldn't be dragging other people down. But anyway, you've brought that up. I was being positive. When I was young, yeah, going along, it was definitely a treat. We didn't do it that often. We used to go to a little, literally called a picture house, which is still there. Shout out to Uckfield Picture House. It was cute. It was small. It had a weird waiting area that looked like someone's living room. It was either screen A or screen B or one or two, whatever it was. And that pure excitement. And as I said, and then looking at the posters for maybe I can go and see that. And that was the purest time. And then as I studied film, went to college and uni, then it was much more, I need to tell this person I've seen this film they've never heard of, and they need to listen to my wisdom on the matter. And if you mention a film that they've heard of, there was always like the shit. And this is still nascent days of the internet as well, so you couldn't really cheat. And then having long conversations about it, sitting there, and the love film days, ordering a random disc to come to your house, and the more obscure the better. And it was that period. And now I'm in the sort of, well, like we all are, we were talking about it earlier, what can I find, what do I read that's maybe interesting, where the fuck am I going to find that? Oh, I can't find it unless I'm going to spend 20 quid, and then it's only on my computer for a week. So I'll be honest, and as I look at the things that I consume, film is falling down the list for that reason. I have Netflix and I have Disney Plus and I have Amazon Prime, but a lot of people have said to me, and this is a common thing now, where you spend more time on that home screen looking for what to watch than you do watching. A lot of people at work say they fall asleep to the home screen trying to decide what to watch.
Oh, shit.
And I do think for a lot of people, we haven't sorted out what happened during the pandemic, the rush to streaming. Now we've got something that, in my opinion, doesn't suit anyone, because you've got streamers that are just putting the same things or swapping between streamers. It's the same films all the time. Do you buy? Do you rent? What does rent even mean? What does buy even mean? How long can you keep it for? So yeah, by all means, like, you and Corin will get physical media, and that's the ideal case. But even obviously physical media, I've got a bunch of DVDs in that other room. I can still watch them on my laptop, but that's it. That's always been the case for those things, obviously. So I think my consumption of films now, and obviously people get busier for lots of reasons, and they've got a lot of other choices for how to spend their time. And obviously concentration span, which is something I'm ashamed to say has diminished even in, as the weeks go by. So it was quite nice when my sister was visiting, me and my sister and my wife sat down, put the speakers on and watched Weapons from beginning to end. No one had a phone near them, set aside the very brief amount of time it took to watch it. And I'd love to do that more, but the reality of life tends to take that away. So I do miss the distraction-free. That's why you still go to cinema. Probably that's why I still go. The distraction-free hour and a half, 2 hours. Maybe that's actually become more special in a way, if you can strip away all of the other things that are clouding your brain.
And mates, that is what you've got for our first AMA. Ask Mark anything. Yes.
Yeah.
Subsequent AMAs, look, by all means, again, at Written Off Pod on Instagram, throw us a question. You want to ask Mark, like, for example, how do you tie your shoelaces? We'll get him to answer it on this very podcast. But until then, Mark, thank you very much for joining me. Was this as torturous as you were expecting, or was it, okay, he actually wasn't a bit of a dick?
In the middle?
Fair enough. I'll take that. For me, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, the good thing is I'll never listen to this. So I won't have to pick apart everything I've said. So that's the good thing. I shall clean up the whole podcast by not listening to it. And then someone will say to me, oh, you said that thing about this thing. And I'll be like, did I? So that's how I like to live my life.
Do you find yourself getting defensive? Like, oh, you said that thing. Are you like, no, I didn't. What? No, I wouldn't. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Or do you just be like, well, I said it, so I guess I did.
Well, someone said to me the other day, like, oh, I always remember when you heard this song and what did he say? You moved your shoulders or something. I'm like, did I? And I have no recollection of doing that whatsoever. And I said, well, I might have done. But I always think that's interesting about humans anyway, the things we hold on to, the things we remember. Why do we remember those things and not other things which another person would think? I love that kind of stuff anyway. But as far as this podcast goes, I tend to listen to it when my wife is listening to it. And she's like crossing in and out of the room. So I'll hear like, and then I said to this, Stephen King's a fucking hack. So it doesn't bother me.
Good.
It doesn't bother me. This podcast, it doesn't bother me.
Mates, we hope this podcast didn't bother you. And that's it.
Yeah, and that's the end. I think more things should end abruptly.
Thanks again for tuning in for this episode. Next time, we're tackling Night at the Museum. That big budget, family-friendly movie that, even though it spawned a whole franchise, it's still kind of meh. Or is it? Have a listen.
We'll talk about it a little bit, but everything is set up exactly as you'd wish. And what's interesting is, for me anyway, it's all fucking foreplay and no actual fucking shagging.
Yeah, I would agree completely. Yeah. The foreplay is really, really well executed.
It's basically dimming the lights.
We'll catch you then in 2 weeks' time. But until then, as always, mates, stay safe, grab a slice. Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production.